brought it and placed it before Baba, and Baba divided it in half and gave 2 kilos back to the station master as his prasad. And the station master had the habit of distributing any extra food that they had to the wayfarers and wanderers along the station platform. So this also he sent up and down the platform, besides taking for his family, for all the people wandering there. And so everyone at the station had Baba's prasad. Like that. And then Baba distributed the remaining share, which was 2 kilos, to the Mandali and to the group. And because the station master had sent the food, and the station master in those days was like a king of the station, the train was held up until this party finished their food. Because he was the guest. Baba was the guest of the station master, and they certainly weren't going to rush, so the train waited for about an hour and a half until Baba finished his food. And then, once they finished their food and all, Baba, I don't know exactly what happened, but that man left. He said his goodbyes or whatever, and left, and watched Baba and all go down into India. The train pulled off and they left. And he said that from that day until this day that he had come to the tomb, he had never had any contact with Baba again in his life. Because at that time, Baba wasn't permanently established anywhere. He was wandering with the Mandali around. And so he had no address. I mean, he had nothing. He never even thought to ask for an address or anything. And he had no contact with Baba at all. And when what happened was, after all these years, he came to Ahmednagar for a business reason. He didn't know that Baba dropped his body. He didn't know that he was ever stationed in Ahmednagar. He didn't know anything like this. But he come to Ahmednagar on business. And he met one of these men that he came with. They were his business associates. And they said to him, they had a little free time, and they said, well, maybe we could see some sights today. And he said, okay, well, what's there to see? And they said, well, one of the things is there's a tomb of someone. There are a lot of tombs around nearby. I mean, there's like the tomb of Meher Baba. And he said, what? And they said, there's the tomb of Meher Baba. And he said, we have to go immediately. Immediately. And so they hired a van, which is what they came to Mehrabad in. And he got in the van, they all got in the van, and they came out to Mehrabad. And so when he had told Nana this story, again he said, after that, he said what I had heard, which is, this is the second happiest day of my life. The first happiest was 51 years ago, and then Nana said, that's because you feel as if you meet him again. And he said, that's the way I feel today. So then he
It's a good story.
When did that happen?
this summer, I think in May or end of April.
The only thing, the difference between us and this man, he remembered having met him 51 years ago. And we have forgotten that we met him once. No?
Sure. We really forgot.
Yeah, it is. All right. So what's the agenda for the day? Agenda is a Latin word or what?
Yes.
What does it mean? Subject.
Eruch? Remember yesterday I asked you about effacement and assertiveness and all of that?
Yeah.
And I love the stories that you told. But I still have the feeling that the question wasn't answered. And I thought I'd take another crack at it. Okay?
Yeah. You can.
All right. I think my question is, like, does effacement necessarily mean that one is apparently meek and quiet and
No.
unassertive? Can one be apparently assertive, but yet effaced?
Yeah.
What about that example of Halaj? He was well effaced and very bold and outspoken.
Yesterday we gave some examples, you see, of our life with Baba and all that. So I repeat again, yeah, it's not necessarily that one has to be meek and quiet and apparently appearing to be very humble and modest and all that. No, it's not that. But that doesn't mean that one is not, if one is like that. What is needed is effacement from within. That's the thing. But to get to it, to get to within, we have to be without. So outwardly also there are changes taking place, you see, and they do take place. And I have come across entities who are totally effaced, but from all outward appearances they look like lions and tigers, you see. All the more their attitude and behavior and relatedness, you see, with the others is very ferocious and very outgoing, and outspokenness is there, but totally effaced. That we see in the musts also. Example is of the musts that we hear. They are undergoing a gradual process of total effacement, not just effacement, total effacement now. We see in them gradual processes there, they are heading towards it. But outwardly they are so ferocious, you see. And just as he gave an example of the total effacement was Halaj, and here outwardly he was like a lion. So it's not necessary that one has to adorn oneself, you see, or put on a mask of humility and all that. No, nothing.
What about, I was thinking, you mentioned the others, I was thinking of Bharya Kaka.
Yeah. Bharya Kaka is
Or Baidu.
But
Very, very tame personalities.
what else? What do you want? A crack at what now?
No, that really answered it well for me.
Yeah. The example of the musts, you mean.
Well, just you're saying, yeah, one thing doesn't necessarily mean the other superficially.
Well, there are people you see outwardly they appear to be so humble and so effaced and all that, but inwardly you see they are full of.
Hubris.
Pardon?
Hubris? Pride?
Yeah. They are overladen with all that. Here we find, you see, in our political circles also, leaders go about and they are so humble and that we are living for you and we want to do this for you and we want to give this and that, and all that is there. There is a very fine example of what was told to Bhau by Baba. You know Bhau? And there was once in India a great famine. It was at the time of the New Life, in 1951. 51 that time. 49, it started raging from 49 till 52. And there were many people who were dying. And it's at that time I told you all, I don't know whether I told this group or not, I have seen what real starvation means, you see. Not this sort of starvation that you all have any picture of India starving and all that. But really, I have seen people, you see, going in for the flops of the horses on the streets of Calcutta. And they eat those,
Grains that don't digest.
yeah, grain that is there, and they pass through their flops, you see. Especially the gram, or what do you call that, chickpeas or something like that, yeah. And I've seen with my own eyes, mind you, horses go, you know, coaches are going, you know, those were the years when there were coaches and tram cars, you know, not these sophisticated buses and all that sort of thing. So I've seen with my own eyes the horses flop, you see. And as soon as a couple of flops are there, hordes of people, hungry people rush there. and they pick there and get all the grains and collect them in a dirty cloth piece, you see, like a satchel. They go from place to place like that, collecting the garbage cans and all that sort of thing. So such was the state. What was I saying?
The story of
Some Baba told about something.
Yeah. So there was this famine raging, and people had, well, at such times, government comes in the forefront trying to alleviate the suffering of the hungry people. So they open out kitchens, but because the government cannot do it, so naturally they ask contributions. They take it from those industrialists who earn. So instead of giving it to the government, they want to open their own kitchens. So and so gruel stall would be there, and so would be giving a free food there to people, and so many different kitchens are they mushroom up there, you see, in that area. And naturally the coverage is given. The reporters report. So paper would come and the bogus news will be read out to Baba. So many kitchens have been opened, and so many poor people are getting their food and all that. And the hunger is so much, you see, that they migrate from this area and come to these centers where free food is given. And free food is what? It's nothing but liquid. They can't digest the solid food because of hunger. So it's rice and dal mixed together and made into a gruel-like thing, and it's doled out into small, whatever it be, in their hands or anything like that, and they sip and eat it or drink it. So it was being advertised like that, and in papers it would come and all that. And our minds are being impressed like that so many good things are being done, you see, to alleviate the suffering of the poor. And the reports came, you see, that they serve with their own hands, and they are there on the spot, you see. They are so eager and keen to feed the starving humanity and all that. So all this impinging upon the minds of the readers and those who hear we were hearing. I was reading out the paper. So Bhau's mind started registering these things. So he says, his mind started saying that, my, what a great service these people are doing. What a great service. And what are we doing here? Nothing. We are just sitting over here. We are having 2 meals a day, square meals are there. And although our food is simple, but at least we have stomach full and all that. And what are we doing here? And see how they are doing it and all that. So naturally it's time now. It is just silently playing upon his mind. Sometimes making him aware, sometimes he forgets about this bhav. And then eventually, when it is time for him to depart from here and go to his room, have his supper and all that, appointed time is there, and bhav is called for his night watch duty. So he goes there. So while he is going there, so that day, most probably, Baba told him to press his feet. Means press his body. So he's pressing it. And when the mind starts working, there are no other distractions for the mind, so it harps upon the theme, the current topic, you see. And the current topic was helping the starving. Selfless service. Selfless service. So while he's doing that and all that, so he slows down because his mind is working fast. So all this goes there. Concentration is there on the mind. So Baba just does this, So he again comes back to his senses and goes on and all. After a while again he lapses into that and is thinking about it. Again Baba does it. So Baba gets up on his bed and says, what are you thinking? What is it? What's the matter with you? Are you dozing or what's the matter? He says, no, it's nothing. He says, no, what is it? So then he said this, that it's playing upon my mind what we read in the papers, that such fine service is being rendered, selfless service is being rendered to humanity by these great people and great politicians and leaders of the country. And it is so good to hear that. when I reflect upon our lives with you here, there's nothing of the selfless service and anything of the sort. So I was just thinking about it. So Baba then admonished him, exhorted him, and he says, "Whom do you take me to be?" So he says, "Well, Baba, of course, God in human form." He says, "Do you serve me with any interest? Have you any interest in serving me like this? Are you expecting anything from me?" He says, "No, I'm just serving you because you want me to serve you." So this is known as selfless service, without any expectations. And you are serving, whom are you serving? Serving God in human form, serving the Lord, who serves the whole universe. So the one who serves the whole universe is served through you. So your service is so great. And real selfless service is this. While others, they pretend to do selfless service, they try to be humble and they express their modesty in variegated ways and all that, opening kitchens and all, but at the back of it is a quite different motive. Trying to convert the income you see into expenditure, and just try to overcome the income tax, get the name in the paper, get streamers you see in the newspapers and all that, and have earn applause from the government, or government the subjects you see, the citizens feel that, well, the government is doing something and government is great and all that. Behind it all is all this. All the rubbish that is there, you see, playing upon their minds while doing that service. Superficially it appears what a selfless service they are conducting. A real selfless service is the one, is only the perfect master can do real selfless service, because they are devoid of their self. They have become totally devoid of any impression of lower self. So they alone can do selfless service. Or the one who serves the God-man without any expectations is selfless service. So there are many types, you see. People outwardly they appear to be humble and modest and doing this and doing that, but inwardly their egos, you see, are inflated. Likewise, outwardly they seem to be very ferocious and very outspoken and very brusque and all that, but inwardly they are in the process of total effacement. Little one about the, that about the needles.
Yes, Ibrahim Adil.
Yeah, tell them that story, then I will tell the other one that I simultaneously two stories came, you see, into.
Ibrahim Adam was the king of Balkh, and he had renounced his kingdom and become a darwish, and eventually he became a master in his own right. So one day he was sitting on the riverbed and mending his torn and tattered robe. A fakir, a worldly beggar came across him, and he says, "Oh, well, Ibrahim, what are you doing over here?" And he says, "No, as you can see, I'm mending my robe." And he says, "You made a big mistake by giving up your kingdom and all." No, Ibrahim said, "It was not a mistake. I purchased my poverty. Unlike you, I didn't get it free." And he says, "You purchased your poverty?" He says, "Yes." "And how did you buy it?" He says, "I gave up my whole kingdom. That was the price I paid for this poverty." And the worldly beggar laughed and he says, "Well, you are a fool then. What did you gain by it?" So Ibrahim Adam was sewing his robe. He removed the thread from the needle and threw the needle in the water, and then snapped his fingers and said to the fish, "Bring it up for me." And about 50 to 100 fishes all stuck their faces up, and in each of their mouth there was a golden needle. So Ibrahim Adam again told the fishes that, "Less of this nonsense, just bring me my needle." So one fish came up with that ordinary steel needle, and then he says this, and then he turned out to that beggar and he says, "Well, this is just one of the most infinitesimal small part of the benefit that I obtained by purchasing this poverty."
Good one. Another that came to my mind was of a certain person who appeared to be kind, God-fearing person, lived his own life, wandered on the streets, had nothing to do with the world, but he was totally ugly, so ugly that even the children were fascinated by his ugliness. And people would, the elders would abhor that, and the dogs took him to be ghoul and all that sort of thing, you see, and so they would bark at him. And it is considered that he was then the living personification of ugliness. Yeah. And sometimes people would poke fun, you see, and have practical jokes with him also. They'll pull his, whatever the remaining clothes were there, they'll put him down or do something or pinch him or slap him on his head and all that. And it didn't matter to him. He didn't care because he totally snapped all link with the world. And he lived his own life, just a simple person. So one day he thought of going from his hometown to another hometown across a broad river or something, you see. He had to sit in a ferry, which would take about 6 hours to negotiate between his hometown to the other place where, so there were other passengers also in the ferry and all that sort of thing. On the way, when they saw, the whole crew as well as the passengers saw him there, oh, they were very delighted. You see how to pass the 6 hours, he was a nice toy for them, you see. So they poked fun and they ridiculed him and all sorts of things that they tried, you know. So nobody could realize anything about him. So he hears the voice of God, or whatever you call it, and the voice, the thunder of God. He says, "What are you doing? Why do you let me down like that by allowing them to play fool with you? Can't you do something for them? If you don't do anything, I will drown the whole ship, you see, and kill these people who are fooling with my loved one." So all that the passengers could hear, they didn't hear this thunder of the Lord. They could hear only the reply from this man. He says, "My Lord, if you say that I am your loved one, then instead of sinking the whole ship because of me, the blemish would be because of me you have done it. So why let that blemish be upon me? But if you really want to punish them or do something for me, you love me, you say, so why don't you turn their hearts towards your beauty? Why don't you convert them? Why don't you transform their awareness to the real beauty?" So God granted that, and all of a sudden all these people got the enlightenment, you see, and they saw the beauty that was in the personification of ugliness. And that's how the whole crew as well as the passengers, you know, they benefited from this ugly man.
Eric,
Yeah.
could you tell the story of how you gave Bob his last bath? How that came about?
His last bath.
Yes. You were the one, right, who gave him that?
Yeah, no. Gaver was there with me. Dr. Gaver Rani was there. The thing is that in the beginning, prior to that day, when we had to give him that bath or sponge or whatever you call it, for nearly a year we were trying to coax him into having a bath. But he wouldn't want to have a bath. He had nothing, he wouldn't want, and naturally Mehra and other women, you know, Mani and others would prepare the bath because he would promise them that the next day he would take the bath. So naturally hot water will be ready, the bathroom will be scrubbed and everything would be made ready, and they would tell. In the beginning what they did was they would ask Baba, should we take the water out now, or should we keep your water ready now? So he would say, no, it's too cloudy today, it's not the weather for it. No, it's not the weather. I'll catch cold and all that. Next day. So it went on for 2-3 times like that. So they learned the lesson. So they wouldn't want to ask now. So next day they kept everything ready and says, everything is ready now, Baba, you go for your bath. Says, today I don't think that it's a proper time for me to take bath. I've got a lot of work there and I have to go there. No, it's not there. We'll see about it next day. So it went on like that, and he tried to give excuses after excuses. And what was happening is that it was very important that he should have a bath, and his pores were being blocked, you see, because when he would come over here, I would give him massage through oil massage. And formerly I used to give him just a rub with talc powder and all that, because he didn't like oil or anything of the sort. He didn't like oil. The touch of oil he didn't like. Even if his lovers, when they would come, you see, and naturally they put hair oil, so when they embrace, some oil would touch. They said, you put oil there? What's this oil? Greasy thing. So we knew that he didn't like oil. Now, well, I had to give him that rub, you see, through talc and all that. People came to know, especially the Iranis, from Iran, where almond is grown profusely. It means big crop of almonds is there. So there's a lot of almond oil there. So and it is believed, people know that almond oil massage is the best massage, best oil. So they sent a bottle full of it with great love and affection, and they wrote a nice letter to Baba and said that, Baba, we have collected the best almonds and we have got the best of the oil there, and we are sure that you will love to use it. They didn't know about it because they never used to come very often. And naturally when they come, sometimes, once in their lifetime, they are not told that Baba doesn't like oil or anything of the sort. Yeah, it's not possible. It will be out of place for us to say such things. So with great love they send that. Now this Lord of Love and also the slave of love simultaneously couldn't refuse that. When they saw this, when the letter was read out and all that, to him it was like crucifixion, So he was caught. He didn't know what to do. Eventually we said, Baba, this is a nice thing. Whether you like it or not, I said, I will give such a rub, I will take only a little quantity of it, and then we'll wipe your whole body, and everything will be nice. You won't feel that oiliness of it on the body. So he said, all right, use. So I used to use it, and the bottle would be kept here on this windowsill. Every day he would come and he'd see, oh, you haven't used the oil, yet the whole bottle is full, I said, I use only a little. He wanted the whole thing to be finished so that he could get over with it, you see. So that was the state of affairs at the time. So then he would want to have talc powder, rub and all that. And so oil, talc powder and all created a sort of a blockage for the pores. So it was not good. And it was not good for the doctor's wish that he should at least have sponge, or if he doesn't have bath, he must be sponged or anything. So they were trying to coax him to take a bath and all that. We tried our best. Women tried their best. Of course, he would come here and says, all of a sudden one day he comes here and says, tomorrow is my crucifixion day. So we said, oh. And we didn't ask him for it. He said, do you know what I mean by it? We said, no, crucifixion, you said. This is bath. It's a crucifixion for me. Oh, and we had a laugh and all that. So it was forgotten. Then they must be coaxing him a lot. But eventually they gave up and they started sending words to us saying that if you all can do something now, we have given up. We can't do anything. Men should try now, that he should be coaxed into taking a bath and all. So, well, we said that, Baba, you should now have a bath. While giving him massage, I said, now your pores are getting blocked, and the same old grandmother's tale. He says, yes, I know everything. And it would be like that. Nothing worked. So we had to be more tricky with him. So one day I thought of a plan. So he knew that my nostrils are very sharp. They can pick up scent, you see. So for some work, I used to go very close to him. Every day I used to go. That day, all of a sudden, some worm wiggled there, and all of a sudden I thought of this plan. It was revealed to me, a revelation, a nasty thing. So something fell down, you see. I did this. So I says, what is it? I said, some stink comes out from here. So what stink? I said, I don't know. So I bent down. I said, some very horrible stink is there. So I bent down, trying to pretend myself. Yeah, pretend myself that there's something dead there or something like that. And I try to search here, there, and all that. He says, what is it? Where does it come from? I said, somewhere around your body, around your seat or something like that. I don't know. But it's terrible. And then all of a sudden, I said, oh, it's on the head, it's the very head, Baba, that is there. I think, Baba, you must take a bath now. Because that would, that would prick him, So he says, is that so? So he rubbed his scalp, you see. He says, no, see? I said, yeah, I think it is time now that we should take a bath. I think so, Baba, because my nostrils tell me that. He says, oh, if that is the case, then ring the bell. Call Ghaver. So, well, then Ghaver is called. And I thought that, well, he's trying to order for water or something like that. At least we succeeded in it. But then he says, what he says to us, he stumped us all, He says, some years ago, one of my lovers from the West sent me a perfume bottle. I had given it to Mehra to keep it. Has she kept it safe yet? Is it still with her? So go and ask her. If it is so, then get the thing. So she brought it after a search of an hour or so. She got it. So Baba liked it. Yeah, this is the same one. She kept it well. So we opened it. And then what he did was, he just took and rubbed it. And he kept it there. For a long time we used to keep it there. And so he told me now, gave me a responsibility, if anybody were to come, somebody, old Baba, disciple or follower from outstation, I think, before they are given the entry, remember to give a rub here with little, so that won't stink, So that's how it was. So he tried to put us off, you see. So for long, many months, you see, he didn't have bath or anything of the sort, or scrub or anything. And it was going too far. The only thing was to manhandle his body, that's all. And we had to do something so that he can take a bath. Something should be done, some sponge should be there and all that. So, a time came when he stopped coming here. It was the last days. About, say you may call it last 15 days. He didn't come. And from 14th or 15th of January, I think he didn't come. Here. Otherwise, every day he would be here. He passed away on 31st January. He would be here. All this will happen. Yeah, nice. But from 15th, the doctor said, no, Baba, you should rest over there, not come. So he was there. So we used to go every day there. Instead of holding the meeting here, we would hold the meeting there. Instead of him sitting on the seat, he would lie down. Sometimes we'd put the little back rest and he would recline and lie. And there at that time, in the morning, in the afternoon, or the evening, I would give him rub and all that on his bed. What had happened is, not having taken bath for a long time, I don't know whether you all have experienced that or not. Our skin becomes leathery and it starts like sawdust, the skin becomes so rough. What do you call that? Flakes, yeah, flakes. It flakes. Especially the soles and all that. So I used to rub that and collect all that, you see, and then I said, see how much it has flaked now. Now it's time for you to take bath. The skin needs some nourishment and all that. It shouldn't be like that. He said, you rub, isn't it? That's nourishment. I said, no, it should be. So one day we thought, now this won't do. So Ghaver and I made a plot. I said, Ghaver, do whatever it be in the afternoon. It's a nice rest period for him, not much. And he loved lavender. You know lavender? Water, lavender? Yeah. So he loved that, the perfume of it. And we knew that. So I said, get the water ready, get the napkins, get the basin there and all that, and we'll make him sit on the bed and we'll do something. So while I'm doing that, while I'm pressing his feet and all that, and then I said, Baba, just get up and sit on the bed. So I helped him to sit. He said, what? I said, you just sit. So I made him sit. He sat on the bed. I said, now take your feet down now. He said, but what are you doing? I said, no, Baba, you see, I'm noticing it. It's not good like this. You must soak your feet in water. Just this much. Water is ready, basin is ready, everything is ready. And there's lavender water. So we must soak. So he said, all right. So we got the basin immediately, you see. And we put his feet there and soaked it. And then while they are being soaked, I started scrubbing, we have that towel. So I rub the soles and all that sort of thing. Change the water, another fine water is used, more lavender is poured in front of him. And he says, fine smell, Baba says. I said, yes, nice perfume, Baba. And then afterwards, with the fresh water that was there, I started scrubbing it up to the knee. I said, Baba, just this knee needs some sort of little rub and all that. Warm water is good. Then I went to the thighs. I said, what are you doing all this? I said, well, now that we have got to the feet and got to the knee, let us go as far as the waist. So I cleaned all these portions and everything was there. And, then new water is taken and all that. So he says, oh, you are using the same tactics that you are copying me. I used to use that with the musts. You see, you are trying to use that same with me. Yeah. So that's how then we made him lie on bed and we just gave him a scrub on the chest and back and neck and everything. Of course, head remained as it was. That's how everything was clean. Yeah, very fine. Gave him a good sponge and scrub. And that was the last. So that's the thing. Why do you ask that?
I like the story.
Sylvia, what does your mind say when you hear all these personal side of the Lord?
Personal?
Yeah.
What, of people?
No, about how we handled his body and how we used to play tricks with him and how he would accept everything that we, sometimes, of course not everything, some things that we would say and all that. What does your mind say to all this?
Well, I don't think too much. It's not moving fast in my head. I just listen and I put myself into scene like a movie.
Yeah. That's what I told you all in the very beginning when you all came the first day, how perfect a person he is. And what did you say when you came today? First thing about the cigarette. You are still...
Yeah, tell me the story.
But what about you? What has happened to your cigarette?
Well, I haven't finished a cigarette.
Oh, you haven't yet?
Completely.
Oh, I see.
I had 2 cigarettes through yesterday, and about as soon as I put it in the gurney, I went home, lit up a cigarette.
Oh, Baba will take care of that.
And I didn't finish. It was very nice though. Didn't finish. It got wet. It got all wet when I was washing my hands. I wanted to clean first. And while I was putting the cigarette, it got all wet. And when I smoked, didn't taste too good after that. So I threw it away. Didn't finish it. And today, I had 2 puffs and didn't finish it.
You're wasting all the cigarettes. Why don't you collect them and give it to
I
me?
give them away as well. I give them away.
You know, Sylvia, I used to smoke. First of all, I'm brought up as a Zoroastrian from my birth. You know, Zoroastrians don't smoke because they are considered to be the worshippers of fire. And fire cannot be defiled by putting into in mouths, you see, like that. It's blasphemous and sacrilegious, you see, for anybody seen to smoke. A Zoroastrian, smoking means what? So naturally we were brought up to do away with all this, no smoking, nothing of the sort, as children. Then I went to college and everything was fine. There was no smoking, no drinking, nothing of the sort. Then Baba called us, and then the smoking started. You come here to Baba to give up smoking. I went to Baba to start smoking. Yeah, that's my story.
Why?
What?
Why you started to smoke?
Why I started to smoke? So what happened is, yeah, it might misconstrue, but well, why I started was just this, that as I told you, that I had nothing to do with smoking and there was no craving, nothing of that sort. Then after some years, 2-3 years of my stay with him, so many things he would tell us to do, you see, go out in search of mad people, go out in search of the poor, go out. Then there came a time, he says, he took us in search of his beloved children, the musts. Sometimes I would be sent alone, and Baba would say that if ever they give you anything, don't refuse. Take it, accept it. Don't refuse. So one day, as I was with a must, he was smoking a cigarette. So one day I was sitting there and trying to coax him into coming, and I was just pressing his shoulder and says, come on, would you like to come? So he tried to do away with me most probably. He says, come on, have it, you smoke this. So I smoked, and I didn't know how to smoke, so I inhaled a huge puff, you see, and what happened was I was choked. Didn't know what to do, you know. I started coughing and all that sort of thing. And he had a hearty laugh, that must and all that. But, well, there was that little taste, you know, how it, the effect of it was there. First time, just a puff. So, of course, it was all forgotten. After 2-3 months, and I went to another must, and he gave me something, and that was also. But then I had learnt my lesson, so I very gradually, I asked others, so how do you all smoke? What is the, because there were other people who were smoking around, Mandali people. So how do you smoke? He says, don't don't inhale it all of a sudden, all at once. Go gradually. Oh, I said. So that's how I learned. So then when the must gave me another cigarette, I learned to smoke properly. After that, I got the taste of it. Hello, Mani. So the taste of it was there, developed. I started liking it. Then another one gave me. Then what happened, there was one by name Chetty Baba, the must. I don't know whether you all are. Yeah. I was in charge of that must, you see. So he, in the night, would wake me up, and one day he woke me up from my sleep. I used to sleep right across, on the floor, across his bed, you see. His bed was there. So he woke me, got down from the bed. He would sit all night. I don't know what he did, but Baba had told me to be there. So one night he wakes me up from my sleep and he offers me something. So I get up, says, Hako, Hako. He says, eat. So I ate it, and it was pan full of tobacco. And that hard tobacco from the south of India is terrible. You know? So I ate it and I vomited like anything. So that's how I got the habit of eating tobacco, smoking from these people, you know, from the people who are God-absorbed, you see. So that, of course, was forgotten, and I got into the habit of smoking. And, of course, eating pan and chewing tobacco and all that. So I was smoking, and I smoked a lot. And that smoking, you see, and Baba never told me or asked me not to smoke or to smoke. He never said anything. So I went on smoking, and people had named me as a chimney. Chimney, you know? Yeah. So the smoking went, beyond, the far beyond, you see. And ashtray, or your conventional ashtrays were not the ashtrays that I could use, because they would be just heaped up with ash and butt ends and all that. So I had a big canister as my ashtray. So I used to smoke more than 50, 60 cigarettes a day. And that too, my day was very short, because all day I had to be with Baba. And then whatever few hours I was away from there, chain smoking would be there. That was good. It was helpful for me to keep awake in the night and to be active and this and that. And I was young and I could do this. Years passed by. Over 2 decades I smoked a lot. one day I was, I must have started smoking, about 7 years must have passed from there. And one day it so happened that I went to Bombay with Baba, and I was smoking in the night. And all of a sudden there comes a child of the house, and he jumps on my back. He was in that habit, very mischievous child, as little as Sophie. And all of a sudden jumps on my back and says, "Eruch uncle, what are you doing?" So I said, "I'm smoking." He says, "Do you know Mer Baba doesn't like anybody to smoke?" The child is saying. I couldn't say yes or no because I was in the habit of smoking. If I said yes, then why am I smoking? Because the impression on the child shouldn't be that. So I said, I just tried to evade the question, and I said, "Yeah, I know that Mer Baba doesn't like you to behave as you are behaving." Because he was of that type, very fidgety, you may call it a child who was very energetic. If he is told to go and call somebody, go and call somebody, that Uncle Bill is there, go. So he would not go the way that one has to go. He has to jump over the windowsill, then you would jump over the blue bus, and from there he would go there. He was that type. So every time his mother, who is here of course now, so would have to tend to his wounds and all the bruises and all. Every time he would be painted red, with mercurochrome and all that on the knees and everything. So I said, yes, Baba doesn't like this. So when you stop having all this, then I will stop smoking. Just try to evade the question, you see. And he kept quiet, and I started.
Angry mood. Angry in the sense, why? Because I brought out one book on Baba in the year 1954. One book containing Baba's life sayings. That Kutumba Sastri, our ex-chairman, he raised some objections technically. I did not care for his objections because I want to produce a book and distribute to the people. Then the same question was put before Baba in the silent, in the Savas, in the cabin at Mehrabad. I was called in. The meeting, Eruch was there, Kutumba Sastri was there, the Mallikarjun was there, the Dr. Dhanpati was there. Baba, you have selected these people for distributing, for doing your work in Andhra Pradesh. Why did they put spokes for doing Baba your work? I don't call them. They are elderly people. But they should not, you must also see that they should not create any hurdles in doing your work. I did not do anything harm. I produced one book at my cost. I didn't ask them. I spent my money for this book. I didn't ask. But if there is anything wrong in Baba, in collecting material, they can raise objection. And then Kutumba Sastri said, Baba, at the Delhi convocation, there is one lecture given by Dr. Deshmukh and Niranjan Singh, and he got